to distinguish the one from the other. Sound familiar? This prayer sums up a great philosophy in life, I think. It's the key, of course, is that last part, distinguishing the parts that we can change and the ones that we can't. And to accept the ones that we can't. Because it can't be changed, right? You know, that we can continue to whine and cry, but it doesn't do anything. So I have an affirmation for us this morning. I welcome change with an open, trusting heart. Growth comes with change. I apologize for being small, and I apologize for being on wobbly paper. I already packed my cardstock. So I welcome change with an open and trusting heart. Growth comes with change. I welcome change with an open and receptive heart. Growth comes from change. And one last time. I welcome change, like you mean it, with an open and receptive heart. Growth comes with change. And I don't know about you, but I have learned that I came here for spiritual growth. And I want to change. And I want to grow. And the only way we can do that is when we have change, even when it's not always comfortable. So if we turn within and go to that place within and that's still and quiet, that still small voice within, or as Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, called it, going to headquarters. When we turn within and we go to headquarters, that's when we hear, maybe not in an audible voice, but the whisper of our soul, that purpose that the Daily Word talked about, that churning within us that is coming forth when we listen. And as you all know, I've listened recently, and change is coming forth. My girlfriend, who is actually our son Jack's godmother, I've known her since I was with the Great Lakes Youth of Unity back in Cincinnati. And I saw her at the Ministers' Conference this summer. And I walked up to her and she goes, "Mary Grace?" She didn't say Mary Grace, actually. She said, "Sister, it is time. It is beyond time." I said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "It is time for you to step into your ministry." And I said, "What?" "I am in my ministry. I'm serving at all these Central Texas churches. I am happy and I love it." And she said to me, and looked me straight into the eye, she said, "You are ripe and you don't want to rot." That's all I'm going to say.
You're ripe and we don't want to rot.
You don't want to rot. And I'm not going. And I had to play with that. And, conference was over and the next, I don't know about you, but I get time changes. I have people who live on the East Coast family and I have people who live in the mountain zone. And that 1 hour difference, it's easy for me to get California right. It's 2 hours away behind us. But the other two, I seem to flip-flop. Maybe I'm the only person on the planet who does that, but I do that. And so I log into a call that I'm supposed to be on for the Unity Urban Ministerial School Alumni Association. And I get on the call, and guess what? I'm 2 hours late. And so I decided to read the minutes from the last one. And this is the Monday after the conference, after my friend says this to me. And I'm not looking, I don't even know how to look for a job if you're looking for a job as a minister. I've never looked for one. I've been happy with what I'm doing. And I read the minutes from the last meeting, and one of my co-graduates from the school is retiring. And it just jumps out of the page, slaps me in the head and said, "This is yours." And I'm going, no, and all my little stuff that comes up. But that was less than a week later. And now it is, here it is, 3 weeks, we'll be gone. We'll be out of Texas. And I can hardly believe that. I fought so long to go someplace warm, but I'm going someplace warm. It is very warm in Redding, California, and I'm delighted about that. So Albert Einstein said something that's going to sound familiar. The world we have created is a product of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. Sound familiar? It's like the Fillmores.
Like the Karen Drucker song.
Yeah. Well, but the Fillmores had it, and it came from Thoreau and all those New Age thinkers that Albert Einstein was quoting. But people will hear Einstein, not necessarily Fillmore. But we create our world, right? Unity principle, which one? Which one? The unity principle number 3, we create our world by what we think, feel, and believe, right? And so after that conversation with my friend, I listened deeply and knew that that opportunity was mine when it came in my path. I didn't like it. It was change, and I was going to grow, and I liked where I was. So my household, as you can imagine it, is a whirlwind and undergoing a new birth. And it's going to be wonderful for all of us. My sister and my nephew who live up in Kyle are going through a new birth of life without family nearby, you know? And my brother-in-law and both their families, my cousin-in-laws and their families are all going to a new birth. Life having more family nearby, connecting us all together. There'll be 18 of us out there all together with all the family in less than 3 hours from each other, which is way more than we have here. So it's interesting how life happens, isn't it? So according to Charles Fillmore, who I like to think of as Papa Charlie, he said that new birth is the realization of man's spiritual identity, with all the fullness and power and glory that follows. He says that fullness and power and glory come with knowing our spiritual identity. He says that we come into human form, and we're first born in the physical state, and we're human, right? We have to learn all about being human again, because it's, you got to learn to talk and walk and eat and all those things you didn't know how to do in a physical form. And then we get to rebirth as a spiritual being, as an identity, and that we know, just like in our meditation, and I was talking to Carol when she wrote her check this morning, that we're one with everything, right? That we are one with it all. And when we do that, we have that rebirth. So here we are, all these, including my family here and all over the country. My family is going to be affected by this change of simply, which is me getting a new job, right? That seems simple, right? But it's going to impact this community. It's going to impact Unity of Temple and Unity of Georgetown and Unity Church of the Hills. And it's going to affect a lot of people beyond that. It's going to affect my neighborhood. I'm the go-to help person. I'm the cool neighbor, I'm told. You're the only cool neighbor, I get told. They're all cool, but they don't take the time to talk to each other and know each other like I do. And so they know who to go to because I reached out to them first. And my neighborhood is going to be affected by that. And everything is going to be changing for a lot of people, and it comes that way. When I was in ministerial school, Reverend Julian Telesford introduced me to a prayer. I think it's from Charles Fillmore, but I'm not sure. He said, and this is really small, so I don't even know why I'm holding it up, but I joyously and faithfully consecrate and dedicate myself, and I always say my services, to the will and the work of Jesus Christ. I am continually blessed by the abundance of all good, and it comes to me with ease and grace, and I am grateful. That's powerful. That everything comes to me when I dedicate and consecrate myself to that Christ consciousness. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to step in to dedicating yourself to your purpose, your Christ consciousness? It's when we do that, all the good flows. John Henry Newton once said, "Fear not that your life shall come to an end, but rather that it should never have a beginning." And I would challenge you, a new beginning. We've all had a beginning. How many of you can think of 3 and 4 and 5 new beginnings in your life? Yeah, we all can. Even a 5-year-old can. We all have these new beginnings that come up for us. And out of them, growth comes. And out of them, change comes. And we get to step into it, and we can hold on to the past or whine and complain about the past and not be here. Or we can just step forth and trust to step into it. It can take more effort and can be more draining to us to try and hold on to the past. We think about the good times. I think about my high school buddies, especially the football players. live those good old days, especially at reunions. They do that. They don't live there all the time, but they seem to tell the glory days of, when they were the top of they were the big fish in the small pond, and they get out in the world and they're a teeny tiny fish, They love that glory days. And I think we all have parts of that for ourselves. And that's okay to have those things, but to know that we're stepping into our new purpose, our new beginning. What is it going to be that we're going to change and turn to and listen to what God is guiding us? So I have a couple scriptures today. They're both from the Christian scriptures. The first one is from Luke chapter 12, verse 31. Seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. His kingdom, her kingdom, God's kingdom. Turn within and seek that connection, and then all the good flows. Then we can feel the change pulling us forward. And that leads to new beginnings, right? So it's good to look at the past and see that wonderful things have happened to us, but we need to forge forth and create anew. Even when we don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know about you, but you don't know what life's going to look like. We don't. It changes constantly. And in our best mind of mind, we have it all planned out. Does anybody else? I'm an organized, advanced planner. All my boxes for my packing are labeled and stacked, and these rooms are, that's just Marygrace. But you can't plan life that way. It doesn't work. You can try as hard as you want, and it just doesn't work out that way. Things shift, I've told you about fiance 1 and 2 and 3. Those just didn't work out, That wasn't where I was supposed to be, even though in my mind, in that moment, I had it all planned out. We can't. We have to just open and trust. Thankfully, I also learned to listen. I could plan it out, and I also learned how to let go and listen, which is not always the easy part. So there's 2 reasons I've noticed why I don't want to start something new, right? And the first one is because I have a propensity to limit myself with my thinking and my thoughts and my words. I don't know about you, but I have these voices in my head. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, well, women aren't supposed to do that. I hear, my grandmother talking. Or you're not, people would say things if I did that. Just all these voices in my head. Do you have any voices in your head? I call her Francine. And sometimes I just have to say, Francine, please be quiet. I'm going to turn within and listen. You turn and listen too, Francine. I'm not going to listen to you. Thank you for your input. I'm going to let you go. It helped me to put a name to her. You can call her You can call it Mortimer. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Francine fit for me, and I apologize to any Francine in the world who takes that the wrong way, but that's the voice in my head. And God didn't create us to be naysayers, to second guess ourselves. God created us to look at the infinite possibilities. And I have to turn within. Go to headquarters to listen and ask Francine to listen as well. That's the first reason, because I can self-limit myself. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I do that. And the second reason, because I am afraid of making a mistake. Anybody else in that perfectionist quality? Nobody all these musicians, of course, can relate to it, because you make one wrong note, everybody in the audience knows it was you, right? And the whole band knows it at least. They're all looking at you. You really have to do it right?
Sometimes.
And it sometimes happens, but you beat yourself up and all these things. You don't want to make the mistake, so you don't even want to jump out into it. But what we truly know, you guys have all heard the acronym for fear, right?
Yeah.
FEAR, false evidence appearing real. That is what fear is. It is not trusting in source. It is not going back to spirit and turning within to listen and knowing that being in that off-kilter moment, even with the wrong note, guess what? Everybody then appreciates all the right notes together more fully. That's what happens to us when we turn within. If we go to 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, it reads, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Don't you love the Bible is so masculine? This God, him, her, it, we don't even cast it upon something outside of ourselves. We turn within, we go to headquarters and release it to spirit. You can go out through your feet, you can go out through your fingers, just let it dissipate into all that is. The anxiety, the worries, those aren't going to create anything for you. Just let it go and melt away, because it's false evidence. If spirit is guiding you to something, the doors open, they don't close, right? That's what I know. So I was offered the job at Unity in Reading at the end of a Zoom call, which is rare. Maybe it's more common now with online stuff, but it just shocked me. I've only heard of it happening one other time. And that was my father-in-law after 44 years, I think almost 48 years in ministry behind him, going to a small church. And they were going to be, blessed to have him. But his name spoke for himself. I don't have a name, they don't know me from Adam. And so 2.5 weeks later, my husband just happens to be, of course, you know how the way the universe, an hour north of there. He just happens to be. This trip's been planned since March or April. So I get in one of our cars and I drive it out there to leave it there, because we have 4 vehicles now and 3 drivers. So I left the car there and I met him and we looked for a place to rent. Because, when you go to a new place, like think Boston. When I moved here, it took me months to find what neighborhood we wanted to be in. It had changed so much since I lived here. So many places. If you're in this neighborhood, how far is it to this? Which church would we go to? How far would it be? Do they have a youth program? Where's the library? Where the homeschool? I got to figure all this out, the lay of the land, right? Guess what? There are 93,000 people in Reading. It doesn't take long to figure out the lay of the land. It takes 22 minutes from the very, 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 very northeast corner to the very, very, you get the picture. It's like it only takes like 22 minutes to get across town. And that's from rural country to country. It's just amazing. It's so small. I have to think, Steiner Ranch, where we live, there are 45,000 people. The city we're going to has twice as many people as my neighborhood. It just boggles my mind to think of that. Anyway, so I'm totally lost it. So we get there, and we're looking for a place to rent, and all these doors keep closing in our face. Can't get this place because of this reason. Oh, they just rented it to somebody else. Oh, you can't even go in to look at this place until you give us this much money because of COVID. They only want serious renters. But there are no pictures on the internet. I'm not going to give you money to go look at a place I don't even know if it will work. You got to have it kind of a picture, even though I'm not a visual. And so, we found this one place who was being leased by the owner. And she would let us come show it to us, and we loved it. It would work for us. It had a separate office for Scott with a door, because he's going to be working from home at his same job. And so all this was good, and she says, "Oh, I hope you win." This is the person who owns it. I said, "Well, you get to decide." If it had occurred to me, I would have said, "We'll give you the deposit right now. We'll pay for the first month's rent, and that way we'll have it when we move in." But that didn't even occur to Scott or me or her. None of us thought of that until afterwards, because obviously it wasn't supposed to be ours. So we're set in that. We know we're going to get this house. Everything feels good. And we just decide to go look at houses for fun, right? Why not, right? Because we'll eventually buy something. And so we look at this one, and it was awesome. It had full solar that was put in last year, and it was fully paid for. And, it ran the whole house, and it had an extra house next door that could be used as a shop for Scott. But it didn't have a pool. And it was kind of choppy. It didn't really work well, the floor plan. And so by the time we pulled out of the driveway, we talked ourselves out. Besides, we've got this rentable house. It's going to be fine, blah, 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 right? And then we decided to go look at this other one that both, interestingly, was the first house that both Scott and I saw on the internet when we first started looking. Even before I had the interview, even before I knew if I qualified for the job, we both just started looking. And it was the first house that showed up. And that is the house that we are buying. And of course, I kept dreaming about it and thinking of it. And there is a lot of work that has to be done to this house. There are floorboards that are rotted out on the deck. You know me. What is Marygrace at Christmas time? A baker, right? The oven is this small and this deep. I can't fit a cookie sheet in there. A turkey won't fit in there. How can I cook? I can't. I mean, I have to rip out that oven and put in an oven. I mean, that's the first thing when I walked into the kitchen. It's got this great counter. My girlfriend who said, "You'll rot." You don't want to rot. She said she saw the counter space. It's like from here to there, granite counter space. She just saw me making, decorating all my gingerbread men, right? Yes, it's great, but I gotta have an oven to bake them in. And it's choppy, but, it just felt right. And here we are, we are 3 weeks later after seeing that house. 3 weeks. We're in the final process of escrow. The appraisal's been done. 85% of our belongings are docked, and we're going to be gone. The door opens, and you go. If the door closes, what do? Look for another door that's open, right? You think it, you plan it. You can't do that. Sometimes I think that I'm lucky, right? But I'm not lucky at all. It has nothing to do with this. It came from being a unitic. It came from having this positive thinking of programming it, expecting the best. What's that song? I expect the best. I think it's Richard Medici. And we expect it. When we expect it, it comes. So what door is opening for you? What's your purpose? What's new for you that we are stepping into personally, collectively at this community? What are we stepping into? What is it we are going to co-create with God to share our sparkling love and light, this sphere of bubbling energy from this room? What's going to happen? It's giving me God bumps all up and down my arms, thinking about, oh my goodness, they went down my legs. We're going to let Francine speak quiet of the world and step forward. So before we close, let's look at this affirmation again. I welcome change with an open, trusting heart. Growth comes with change. You ready? I welcome change with an open, trusting heart. Growth comes with change. And change can be uncomfortable, but if we don't step out in faith, we're not going to be going anywhere. I know it's not Easter time. That's the only time we talk about this. But we could think of Jesus' last days. He comes in, Palm Sunday, all the triumphal entry, right? And then he comes in. And we've got Thursday, we've got this Last Supper. And he goes in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? And then he gets carted off. And we could think of that as the end. It was a final ending, right? That finality. I think of like bachelorette parties, and weddings. They mark the end of a single life and the new beginning of a marriage, of a couple, right? And you mark that ending. And then you think about baby showers, right? And baby showers, we're only thinking about the new baby and all the new things we're going to get for the baby. But really, for a parent, any parent or grandparent can tell you, it marks the ending of life as single people. Right? They become your world. You never get to just go and do as you please. And I'm really glad we were married 9 years before we had Jack. I mean, my life changed irrevocably. You can't go back to it. And that's the same thing that happened in the Garden of Gethsemane. His teaching was over, but he transformed the planet by stepping into that newness. The finality brings that change, brings that growth. So what's going to be final in your life? What is it in your past that you're going to let go of, forgive, release, cut the cord? We're going to get a big old hacksaw, get a solderer, solder it off, and just leave it there, okay? So that we can step forth into our new beginning. If there's a dream or desire knocking at your heart within you when you go within, what is it? Is it to share a joy you have? Is it to work with children? Is it to give a gift back to the community? Is it to create something brand new? Whatever it is, breathe into it, listen, and ask what is mine to do. Ask what is the new beginning. Don't listen to the fears. Don't listen to the naysayer Francine in your head. Step forth. Go with an open, trusting heart and know that you're going to grow through this change, this new beginning for yourself and your community. And we are grateful. Thank you. And now, oh, he goes, shh. That's kind of cool. I've never had to do that at the end of service before.
Thank you, Reverend Marygrace, for sharing with us, and we love you, we appreciate you, and we really will miss you. And so this is the time for sharing of our offering, if you would like to share. Thank you for being with us online.